The Earth Quarantine WAS, never about aliens. ITWAS, about consciousness. There are moments in the evolution of a civilization that feel almost invisible while they are happening, and yet they change everything. You are living inside one of those moments now. Many of you feel it, not as a headline, not as an event, not as something you can point to on a calendar, but as a subtle internal pressure, a shift in the air, a feeling that something long held in suspension is beginning to move again. And if you have ever felt that you are not entirely from here, if you have ever sensed that Earth feels both like home and not like home, if you have carried an unexplainable memory of something brighter, more unified, more coherent, then this message is for you. There is a story that has been told in many forms across time. It appears in myths, in ancient symbols, in spiritual teachings, in dreams, in archetypes. It speaks of a period when Earth entered a kind of isolation. But that isolation was never about punishment. It was never about exile. It was never about cosmic abandonment. It was about space. Space for humanity to decide. Space for consciousness to mature without overwhelming influence. Space for a species to ask itself a single defining question. Who are we? Not as tribes, not as nations, not as ideologies, but as a collective being. For a very long time, humanity evolved under pressure. Pressure of survival, pressure of conflict, pressure of competing belief systems, pressure of technological acceleration without equal emotional maturity. There came a moment, not a dramatic moment, not a cinematic one, but a quiet turning point. Humanity reached the ability to affect the entire planet. Not symbolically, literally. When a species gains the power to reshape or destroy its own world, something changes. It moves from local evolution to planetary responsibility. And at that threshold, a pause was required. Not imposed by domination, not enforced by fear, but allowed by design. Earth entered what could be called a consciousness quarantine, not a physical dome. Not ships in the sky, not science fiction imagery, but an energetic boundary, a holding field, a stillness, a period in which humanity would not be externally guided toward unity. Why? Because unity chosen is evolution. Unity imposed is control. Humanity had experienced enough control, enough influence, enough stories shaped by external authority. The next step could not be forced. It had to be chosen. And here is where you come in. There are souls who incarnate during transitional epochs, not to dominate, not to rule, not to preach superiority, but to anchor memory, to hold frequency, to embody possibility. Some traditions call them star seeds. Others call them old souls. Others simply say, sensitive ones. Labels do not matter. What matters is this. You are not here by accident. You did not arrive randomly in a chaotic timeline. You came during a period when humanity would face another decision point. Not a decision of governments. Not a decision of secret meetings. Not a dramatic cosmic treaty. A decision of consciousness. Throughout history, humanity has repeatedly chosen from fear when faced with uncertainty. That is not a condemnation. It is an understandable reaction. Fear feels protective. Fear feels strategic. Fear feels immediate. But fear fragments. And fragmentation delays maturation. There was a historical moment in the 20th century when humanity stood at a threshold of immense power. The capacity for unprecedented destruction was unveiled. It shocked the global psyche. For a brief window, collective consciousness was open. Shock can create awakening. Tragedy can create humility. For a short moment, the possibility of choosing a radically different direction was present. But the world was not yet ready. Instead of choosing global unity, humanity chose strategic advantage. Instead of choosing transparency, it chose competition. Instead of choosing planetary identity, it chose factional survival. Again, no blame, just evolution in process. And so the energetic quarantine continued, not as punishment, as incubation. But incubation cannot last forever. There comes a time when the species must decide who it is becoming. And here we are again, not with a single explosion, not with a singular event, but with subtle cumulative tension. Technology is accelerating faster than psychological integration. Artificial intelligence advances. Genetic tools evolve. Communication networks connect billions instantly. Information floods the mind. Yet emotional maturity does not automatically rise with technological capacity. Humanity is once again at a threshold. But this time, something is different. This time, there are enough individuals who are aware. You are one of them. Awareness changes the equation. The quarantine was never about keeping something out. It was about allowing something within to develop. Self-responsibility, unity consciousness, sovereignty. If external forces had stepped in to save humanity, humanity would not have grown. If higher intelligence had imposed peace, peace would not have been owned. True evolution requires choice, and choice requires contrast. Look around you. Division is loud. Fear is amplified. Narratives compete aggressively for attention. Identity fractures along countless lines. But beneath the noise, there is also something else. A quiet remembering. A growing refusal to be manipulated by fear. A rising desire for coherence rather than chaos. The quarantine begins to thin when enough humans choose unity from within rather than demand it from above. This is why you are here now. Not to fight external enemies. Not to expose secret villains. Not to dramatize cosmic warfare, but to stabilize frequency. To remain calm in the storm of narratives. To embody clarity when others react impulsively. To choose compassion when polarization invites hostility. This is not glamorous work. It does not trend loudly, but it shifts timelines. Yes, timelines. Not in a science fiction sense of dramatic parallel universes colliding in the sky, but in probability paths. Every collective choice strengthens certain futures and weakens others. Humanity has walked many probability paths. Some collapse, some evolve, some reset, some transcend. Right now, the path is fluid. You can feel it because you are sensitive to energetic tension. You may have noticed old systems feeling unstable, collective narratives losing coherence, personal relationships restructuring, your own identity shifting, old motivations dissolving. This is not random chaos. It is restructuring. When a species moves from survival-based identity to consciousness-based identity, friction occurs. And you, whether you identify as a starseed, a light worker, an old soul, or simply an aware human, are here to anchor stability through that friction. Let's speak clearly. There are no galactic armies preparing to land. There are no cosmic governments waiting to intervene. There is no dramatic rescue operation schedule. The intervention is internal. The awakening is organic. The shift is psychological and spiritual, and it cannot be forced. The quarantine dissolves gradually as humanity demonstrates readiness. Readiness is not technological. It is emotional. It is ethical. It is unified self-perception. For thousands of years, humans asked, who rules us? The next evolutionary question is, who are we together? Not as separate tribes, as one planetary organism. If you have always felt like an observer of human behavior, curious, slightly detached, sometimes confused by extreme reactions. That is not because you are superior. It is because you carry a memory of coherence, a memory of unity consciousness. And that memory makes fragmentation feel unnatural to you. But here is the deeper truth. You did not come to escape her. You came to love it. You did not come to judge humanity. You came to help it remember itself. You did not come to wait for ships in the sky. You came to become the signal. The quarantine weakens not when something dramatic happens above, but when something stabilizes within enough individuals below. And this is happening. Slowly, quietly, exponentially. Many are awakening not to cosmic spectacle, but to personal sovereignty. They are realizing they do not need to be emotionally controlled by media cycles. They are realizing they do not need to outsource moral clarity. They are realizing that unity does not mean uniformity. Unity means recognizing shared humanity despite difference. The earlier threshold in the 20th century was fear-driven. This threshold is awareness-driven, and awareness is far more powerful. You may feel tired at times, tired of polarization, tired of narratives, tired of the emotional intensity. That fatigue is natural. It is the exhaustion of an old operating system. The old paradigm required constant vigilance, competition, and reactive identity. The new paradigm requires internal steadiness. The work now is subtle. Stay grounded. Stay compassionate. Stay sovereign. Do not amplify fear. Do not surrender discernment. Discernment is critical. Unity does not mean blind agreement. It means emotional maturity. It means recognizing that evolution is messy but intentional. It means refusing to dehumanize others even when you disagree. This is advanced consciousness, and it is far more revolutionary than any dramatic cosmic disclosure story. You do not need dramatic external confirmation to validate your inner knowing. You do not need a global event to justify your intuition. The shift is already underway because you are embodying it. The quarantine dissolves in proportion to collective coherence, and coherence begins with individuals. There will be continued tension. That is inevitable during transition. There will be continued attempts by fear-based systems to maintain fragmentation. That is predictable. But fear loses strength when it is not fed. Your task is not to fight fear. It is to refuse to amplify it. Your task is not to convince everyone. It is to remain stable enough that others can feel safety in your presence. Safety stabilizes nervous systems. Stabilized nervous systems make better decisions. Better decisions strengthen better timelines. This is how evolution works. Not through invasion, through integration. You are here because you can hold integration. You can hold complexity without collapsing into hostility. You can see nuance where others see enemies. You can choose patience when others demand immediate reaction. That is maturity. That is the frequency that ends isolation. When humanity proves it can self-regulate ethically and emotionally, the need for energetic quarantine dissolves naturally, not with fireworks, with quiet expansion. You may never see a dramatic announcement declaring, "The quarantine is lifted." Instead, you will notice global cooperation increasing subtly, emotional literacy becoming normalized, systems evolving toward transparency, technology aligning more with sustainability, conflict de-escalating through communication rather than force. These are signs of maturity, not spectacle. The real turning point is not an external invasion or revelation. It is an internal alignment, and that alignment is accelerating. You are not waiting for the future. You are participating in shaping it. If you have felt restless, it is because your role is active. If you have felt different, it is because you are not alien, not superior, just early. Early in adopting the next operating system of humanity. And the next operating system is unity without loss of individuality, coherence without conformity, power without domination, technology integrated with empathy. This is why you are here now. Not because catastrophe is inevitable, not because collapse is predetermined, but because probability is fluid, and awareness stabilizes higher probabilities. The earth was never abandoned. Humanity was never forgotten. Isolation was incubation. Incubation is ending, and you are part of the generation that proves readiness. Stay calm, stay discerning, stay compassionate, stay sovereign. The shift is not dramatic because it is real, and real evolution happens from within. The quarantine was never about aliens. It was about consciousness, and consciousness is awakening. Now the only question is, will enough of humanity choose unity consciously this time? You already have, and that matters more than you know.